Hello and welcome everybody. I want to talk about what happened last week in the first week of the playoff from the CWC. We had quite a few things to talk about, to see, to notice, to admire on the players. And now that we do have only 8 teams in the CWC Season 8 remaining to fight for that Crown Cup over there, we're gonna need to see who is actually gonna get it. And it does look like we did have quite a few best of 3 series being played out this week, with some of them ending up on the tie breaks over there in the third game, and some of them ending up with 2-0 wins. I do want to say the first game was actually Forever Young versus 12 Plus, and before we actually go any further, I do want to say this video is kind of full of spoilers. If you are still waiting for the videos to be uploaded on YouTube, make sure you actually give this channel a subscribe and of course like on the video. And I do hope you're gonna wait for the games to actually be shown over there so you can see exactly what happened. We're just gonna talk a little bit about the results, and we're gonna give you a bit of insight about what happened in the games. Just quickly, no, not a lot of spoilers, but be careful. Like I said, we will talk about the end results, so of course if you are actually waiting for the games, you should not watch this video. Go and watch the full movies when they do come out. In the first game, we did have Fredditos de la Vega versus 12 Plus. They played on Highlands, and it was quite a bit of a back and forth between them. They did do a lot of attacks against each other throughout the game, with a lot of pillages happening. We did have Canada try to go for a culture victory, but Tamar was there next to him. Gran Colombia was there next to him from 12 Plus, and they did try to stop this from happening. At the end of the game, we did have actually England trying as much as possible to take over the world over there, playing basically in a 1 versus 3 situation against his opponents. He did manage to overtake the majority of the Korean Empire with only a few cities remaining. I do have to point out that in the meantime, Persia also lost its empire from Forever Young. So it was a 4 versus 3 situation, with England being the biggest badass wolf over there in the game. Unfortunately, he couldn't stop the nukes, he couldn't stop the GDRs, and he couldn't stop the jet bombers from destroying his territory, especially his major production centers. And at the end of the game, Forever Young did concede to 12 Plus. So that first win actually goes to 12 Plus. Looking at the report over there, we did have in the pre-game ban phase, Nadershan with Cleopatra, Ptolemy, Khmer, and Lincoln, while they did go for Chandragupta, Cree, Scotland, Maori, Gorgo, Mubande, Vietnam, Ethiopia, Zulu, and the Mongolia, Genghis Khan as bans, and then they picked the civilizations that you have just seen. Moving forward, we do need to take a look at the second game from Fredditos de la Vega, from Forever Young going against 12 Plus. They did play this time on Pangea Standard Ridges, which is the map that actually spawns the mountains along those continent splits. And as you can see over here, they did have on one side just Dima with England, Victoria. We did have Age of Empire over there. Demonar with Tamar, Roy coming up with Genghis Khan, not Genghis, sorry, Kublai Khan, Mongolia. We did have Vladimir with Hungary, and on the other side, 12 Plus did show up with Scythia. On outside, Mubande on Nilok. We did have Gol on Chaturianin and Opera 357 on Age of Steam. At the end of the game, as let me actually just move forward a little bit through the timeline over here, so you can see how the empires did evolve. Let me actually move my camera a little bit up so you can actually see what has been transpiring throughout the game. You can see Gold got quite big. You can see just Dima did manage to defend his territory. On the top, actually, sorry, that's Opera 357, if I'm not mistaken, by the reddish color on England. He was next to his ally Gol, but couldn't actually stop Mongolia from attacking into him a little bit. He was forced to make an army and defend himself on land, while on the other side of the map over here, you can actually see how Jasdima was getting his empire. He didn't have anybody next to him to actually force him to build a land army, and he could focus everything on the caravels. They did manage at the end of the game to send those caravels directly to the Manchester capital of his opponent of Opera 357, and started chipping away at the cities with little economy and not that many chances to go forward in the game. They did manage, they did decide to concede the game. So second game goes to Forever Young against 12 plus. We would have actually over here the report of the game. This is the report of the game with Pangea Standard Regis. The CC was actually relatively quick with 1062 CC. We did have Scotland, Cleopatra, Ptolemy, Columbia, Cyrus with Gorgo, Khmer, Trajan, Chandragupta, Nader Shah, Lincoln, Mapuche, Teddy, Rough Rider, Zulu, and Mongolia gang is being banned from the game. And you've seen the civilizations in the screenshot that we've seen earlier in the game over there. Now, in the third game, this was quite a problem. Oh my god, both teams needed the win so they can go forward. This was a fight to go either upper bracket or lower bracket. If they do, whoever loses this game will actually lose a life in the tournament. It is a double elimination tournament of I should say stage in the playoffs. And as you can see over here, we did have them started off on continents and islands, this time with a lot more naval possibilities, and at the same time we did have something really important happening. Mongolia happened. This time they did let in the Mongolia Genghis Khan in the game with Nearbar playing it. He was between two of his opponents. To the left side he did have Elizabeth I played by Roy, and on the right side he did have Persia played by Vladimir Nader Shah this time. On Opera 357 he was playing Catherine de Medici, the Black Queen. He did Irel as much as possible, Scotland, as in tried to send as many units and tried to stop him from simming, so he couldn't get big in the game, couldn't acquire those amenities, so his cities get the extra production, get the extra bonuses from the happy citizens, from the ecstatic citizens. We did have also outside with Cleopatra, a relatively free sim on the left side of the map over there, and right next to Monte that was playing Age of Empire Victoria, and Dimonar was playing Mapuche. He did spawn quite far away from his opponents. He wasn't able to actually send the Malon Raiders against his opponent, and that actually unfortunately ended up him being forced to build a navy so he can try to go against Age of Empire Victoria and try to get an economy with Nader Shah, his neighbor, so they can actually fund the mid to late game necessities like upgrading units, like buying out units, and everything that they need to actually sim, and of course war. It did end up with a major fight when it comes to Cleopatra going against Elizabeth I. He did manage to start chipping away cities and did liberate some of them. Namadol was taken over early in the game by Elizabeth I. That was liberated, and of course the Diplo favor went on Cleopatra. Genghis Khan did beautifully to go and use those Kesheks against both Elizabeth I and Persia, taking away cities from Persia and of course helping out with the war against Elizabeth I, while Scotland couldn't actually get bigger. Unfortunately, at the end of the game, Forever Young decided we had enough. The win went to 12 plus, and now they will need to go for the next round of the playoffs in the round 2 in the upper bracket, while Forever Young will drop down to the lower bracket. We're going to talk about the results and how the bracket looks like at the end of the video. In the next one, we did have HOH with Holiday on Highlands going against Civ Australia, and as you see over here, they did play actually on Pangea Classic Standard Regis. Again, the continents do spawn mountains between them. We did have on the left side Tamar over there fighting off carrier that was playing Victoria Age of Empire. It does seem like there was a major war also between Congo and Gran Colombia, and at the end of the game we did have actually HOH winning the first one, if I'm not mistaken. Let me actually double check this information. There we go, winning team HOH, losing team Civ Australia. They did CC a turn 63, and the pre-game bans were Spain with Mali, with Coupe, and Japan, while they did go for the bans of Hungary, Lincoln, Sejong, Scotland, Sweden, and Khmer. We did have also Eleanor, Cree, Ptolemy, Diplomic and Unified. You've seen the civilizations in the game over here with FKDN on Gran Colombia, Carrier on Victoria Age of Empire. We did have Darius on Basil II, and Lenny on Gorgo from the side of Holiday on Highlands. On the right side, we did have Damodar with Tamar. We did have also Kyber on Rome. Toilet, the flying toilet, was on Congo, and he did actually manage to push through the cities of Gran Colombia, but at a major cost over there. It did not get them the win, unfortunately. Mamnik was also with Canada. He was in the top part of the map over here, and it doesn't look like he could actually push that culture victory through. So at some point in the game, it was what it was. Gwen goes to HOH in the first of the best of 3 series. The next one up, we did have the second game from Civ Australia against HOH. This time they did play on 7 Seas, if I read this correctly. Let me actually double check this. We did have, there we go, 7 Seas with victory at turn 49. This was quite a quick game, I must say. We did have, as you can see, throughout the map over here with Civ Australia fielding Gorgo, Mansa Musa with Damori on Age of Empire. We did have Kyber also on America, the Rough Rider. On the right side, FKDN did go for Sejong. We did have Space on Aztec, Darius on Lincoln, and JJJ on Dido. They did, well, unfortunately, we did see Gorgo over here push through Montezuma through the territory of space and slowly picking away cities. If you take a look at the stats over there, Infinite was getting quite big with Gorgo, and we all know what Gorgo can do at the late game if he does manage to get his setup properly. Have them CCing the game at an early stage, couldn't actually withstand the damage coming out from Civ Australia, and it does seem like their economy was in shambles as well. If you take a look at the HOH numbers over there, only 34 with 7 with 28 and 53 gold per turn, while Mamnik was making 308 gold per turn, 3 times more than the total enemy team combined. That is quite a result over there, and of course that allowed them to actually have the flexibility throughout the game, so they can buy out units, upgrade, and do whatever they needed to do. Now in the third game, let me actually switch the screen over here. I think this is the third game. This is the third game. Okay, we did have again Civ Australia fielding Kyber with Tamar, Infinite on Mubande. We also had Damori on Cree and Mamniku on Sweden, while FKDN from HOH from Holiday on Highlands did go for Chandragupta, Space for Rome, Darius on Australia, and biggest carrier over there on Eleanor, England. We did have Mamniku with Sweden pushing that culture victory as soon as possible, and even though he was getting pushed by Space with Rome, he did have chokes to hide behind. He didn't allow his opponent to actually come into his cities and try to pillage some tiles and try to slow down his culture victory. With more than 300 tourism coming up in the end part of the game, we did have him pushing that culture victory quite fast, and as you can see over here, he did manage to withstand the power of Rome pushing against him. The third game did actually go for Civ Australia, going for that upper bracket in the next phase, while HOH will need to fight a gold buy library in the lower brackets. And moving forward to the next series, let me actually switch over here the button so I can actually see what we have. We do have Freitos de la Vega going against the Gold by Library in their first game. The first game was being played on the Primordial map, if I remember correctly, but I can actually double check really quickly over here so we don't make any mistakes. First game was Primordial, again a very early CC coming up with turn 54 from them. If I read the game correctly, they did have Scotland fighting Eleanor, England, and as you can see in the top part of the screen over there, we did have DGS with Scotland, Legenda on Spain, with Henry on Elizabeth I. Elephant Guy did play Age of Empire Victoria, while on the other side Titub with Gorgo, Barsake on Rome, Pompey on Indonesia, and Tiric on Eleanor, England. Now, Eleanor, England did manage to get a massive fleet. They also did manage to couple their economies together on the seas, and Freitos de la Vega did have a much better gold per 10 than their opponents, as you can see, at the correct timing to actually get those caravels out, and when they needed to improve, or I should say upgrade their units. So at the mid part of the game, Gold by Library did realize they won't have a chance to actually get the victory anymore, and Freitos de la Vega, with their simming, with their gold acquirement, and also the armies and the pushes that did manage to do throughout the game, they did manage to get the victory, getting that win on the board in the first game of the best of 3 series. In the second game, we did have actually a cast with Kacheka on the 7 Seas map. This was an incredible fight when it comes down to the Navy, and I do have to point out we got an MVP in the game, Tiric, in the name of Tiric. Amazing spawn for Cleopatra from the beginning, played by Tiric. We also had on the side of Freitos de la Vega Sprig playing Catherine de Medici, the Black Queen. We did have Ulas on Cree and Under the Gun on Gorgo. I do have to point out Under the Gun did choose to actually have territory that was not really ideal for Gorgo, but he did put his big pants on, and the big boy pants on, and did fight Eleanor, Age of Empire for the beginning of the game, so he slows him down as much as possible, so his ally over there, Tiric, can actually get a navy. We did have Hannibal also from Gold by Library playing on Gran Colombia. Sabuga was the one with Age of Empire. Victoria, SND on Khmer, which did try to actually get as much culture as possible, and at the same time try to sim in between. He wasn't that close to any opponent, but he couldn't actually help out his ally fast enough on Gorgo, so they could take out a player from their opponents. And we did have also Legenden playing Hungary. They tried a bit of mischief with the city-states on the game. Actually, at some point, he was attacking from 3 sides the empire of Cree, of Ulas, and did manage to do quite a bit of damage over there, forcing Ulas to use his gold so he can actually defend himself from so many sides, and also taking away gold from the whole team of Freitos de la Vega. Tiric did incredibly well, fighting first of all Gran Colombia, which was on an island to the south of him. Initially, he didn't spawn coastally, but he did put out harbors as soon as he realized he's going to have an opponent to actually go against on the seas, and did manage to get the admiral, did manage to get frigates and caravels, and a numerous number of caravels to actually go against his opponent over there, Gran Colombia, and of course take out his pre-builds, take out his cities sooner rather than later. There was a big massive war unfolding on the seas between Age of Empire and Cleopatra at the mid to late part of the game, since the empire of Gorgo was slowly taken down by Age of Empire. He did manage to reposition his troops, his navy, so he can go against Cleopatra, but there's a big one over there, a big point to make. Tiric did some incredible moves when it comes to repositioning his navy, and managed to withstand the initial attacks from Age of Empire and then push back with ironclads. His production was top notch. He did manage to overwhelm the navy and the production of Age of Empire, so they got that second win on the board, winning the series and going into the upper bracket, while Gold by Library did need to go and need to fight HOH, as we've seen in the previous series in the lower bracket. In the last series over here, we do have to take a look at COC versus Ulysse. Change of circumstance, and Ulysse did decide to play on the Highlands map for the first game. It was a big show over there with more than 100 turns being played, and we did have helicopters, tanks, GDRs flying around the map. We got some planes and jet bombers. They did try to harness each other from a relative early stage in the game and try to get advantages from that. The map actually was a bit like a east versus west. We did have 4 civilizations from one team clumped up in a territory, with 4 civilizations from the other team clumped up in another part of the map. A little bit more land, but I don't think it actually mattered that much for Ulysse. They did manage to sim quite well on both teams, but at the end of the game, by the concentrated power of so many helicopter armies with tanks, with artilleries, and support from jet bombers and fighters, it looks like Ulysse did manage to score the victory turn 104 or something. Let me actually see if my memory serves me correctly over here. We did have the last ones. Turn 102. 102 was the turn they needed to actually do this, concede. Couldn't withstand the amazing power. In the second game, also, let's actually take a quick peek what happened over here. This time they did play on Pangea, Classic Ridges, with a CC at turn 91. We did have 2 empires total takeovers. From one side, Corny lost his empire on Hungary from COC side, leaving just Ben, Rage, and Miel to fight off their opponents. We did have from the other side Rom that was between 2 of his opponents, between Congo and Miel on Rough Rider. He did also lose his territory, but it was too late. Liege with some amazing sim coming up on Rome. We did have also Firsos chipping away at his opponent Lincoln from the south, slowly but surely doing some damage over there, and managed to take the lead in the game. At the late part of the game, COC decided they cannot actually come back in the game. They didn't have options available for them to go for any kind of victory condition, and they conceded the game to Ulysse. That marks Ulysse getting into the upper bracket, and of course COC going into the lower one. That is quite a surprise. Remember, COC was a finalist in the CWC season 7. You can imagine Ulysse over here is coming out swinging in this playoffs, first stage of the playoffs of CWC season 8. Now let's actually take a quick peek what is happening in the final stage, as in the playoffs of stage over here. We can actually see the brackets, and we got the early results with Forever Young conceding the games to 12 plus. 12 plus got a 2-1 victory on them. They went forward. Ulysse did manage to get a 2-0 victory against Change of Circumstance with a 2-0. We did have also Freitos de la Vega with goal by library. Freitos de la Vega did score the victories 2 times, and bam, they got into the upper brackets. Civ Australia also showing up in the upper bracket. They will need to fight Freitos de la Vega in the next stage, with HOH going bottom. We did have, or I should say, lower bracket. In the round 2, we're gonna have again 4 of these best of 3s needing to be played out to see exactly who's gonna go forward and who's not gonna be in the tournament anymore. And we are starting to get into the elimination phase, since we do have a lower bracket activated. In the upper brackets now, we do have 12 plus with Ulysse, Freitos de la Vega going against Civ Australia. Forever Young and COC will be the ones in the lower brackets, and this is whoever loses this, remember, not gonna get to play the next phase. Goal by library against Holiday on Highlands in the 4th best of 3 series. To get all of the information about upcoming cast, to get all of the information about the tournament, you can easily access civ6worldcup.com, and you can take a look at the main page over here. Whenever there's gonna be scheduled games, we're gonna have them displayed on the first page, and you can easily take a look over there after we assign the casters, who is gonna cast in what language. We do have casters from multiple languages. English, French are the predominant ones, while we do have also the Russian language quite a few times actually done. Quite a few streams did get streamed over then in the Russian language, and we do have Chinese and Portuguese. Now we're still waiting for the teams to actually get their schedules done, and we're gonna see what's gonna happen in the next week. And I do hope you're actually gonna give me some feedback on if you do like this type of analysis video at the beginning of the week, so we get to talk a little bit about what happened in the previous week. I know it is a little bit filled with spoilers about the games, and that's one of the things that I'm gonna put over there in the title of the video, so you are aware. You might end up with a bit too much information than you want. The games that I streamed are gonna go up on YouTube slowly in the next few weeks, and you're gonna get to see them over here on YouTube. If you do want to take a look at them faster, you can definitely check out my twitch.tv/OnSpotTV channel, and you're gonna find them in the videos section. Thank you so much for everything. Don't forget to actually throw this a thumbs up, and of course I do hope we're gonna see each other on the live stream on twitch.tv/OnSpotTV. I also hope you are gonna leave a comment down below to actually give me your thoughts about this, and we will see each other on Discord also to talk about what games do you play over there. Show me your spawns, show me your victories, and of course your sim over there. How do your series look like? Have a good evening everybody, and see you in the next video. Bye bye bye.